Dear Nielsen Television Audience Measurement, having called me 3 times and me having declined to answer your 2-minute survey 3 times, I have to question what the random algorithm that's feeding you phone numbers is doing. I understand that you believe that it's in the public good to maintain the accuracy of the TV rating system, but in my opinion, the distribution of funds between the marketing departments of several large corporations is not in the public good. So...
Well, thanks for that random input. Speaking of random, your number has been specifically randomly selected all those times, whereas mine hasn't. So there we go. I think I've got levels. How are you feeling?
Better.
Good.
After that.
Excellent. I'm glad that you managed to get that off your chest.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
There's been some amount of adventuring in the past week.
There has.
On Friday, yes, on
Friday.
I went to see Mickey 17.
You did?
And having said that I was going to see Mickey 17, which somewhat premeditated on my part, very much not premeditated on your part, you tagged along.
Well, if my memory serves me correctly, I was the one who made you aware of...
No, I was aware of it beforehand.
Oh, were you? Well, you never know. When I send things your way and I don't get any feedback whatsoever...
Well,
like
half the time it's because I haven't watched it.
Flicking things at you in the hope that they'd stick. But anyway, yes, we did go to see Mickey 17.
And I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
Little uneven in places. But
yep.
No, I would recommend it. Little furry in places.
Yes.
And if you can't stand even impressions of one Donald J. Trump, I would steer clear.
Yeah, yes.
Even though Mark Ruffalo does a very good Donald J. Trump.
It certainly does not hide its political influences at all. And
apparently quite different from the book it was based on.
Yeah.
In ways that the author was okay with.
Yes, I did get the impression from what I read that the author was quite happy with first he was quite happy with the check, but also quite happy with the way that it turned out.
It's more social commentary on the state of things now in the guise of something else.
Yeah. Not that we'll be seeing any of that kind of thing anywhere in the near future. No.
Second adventure, yesterday, as we're recording, so Tuesday, I had to go into town in order to get an Optus account, changed ownership from that man sitting over there to you.
Oh, me. Right.
To this man sitting here.
Let's clarify, Optus being a telecommunications carrier. So we're talking a phone number that was initially under my name many, many, many years ago.
On paper, but in practice has exclusively been used by me for the entirety of that.
Yes.
Even though originally it was intended to be shared between me and a brother.
Yes, it was. That worked well.
Yeah.
So into town to get that switched over. so that you can promptly switch it over to another service provider, which all went swimmingly smoothly.
Yeah. And only happened because things had not gone swimmingly smoothly before. And then I went for a walk, but because of the change of ownership and a mild snafu with old plans phasing out, I was in town for about 4-5 hours without any access to the internet and with only text messages to use.
And smoke signals. You could have sent a smoke signal.
And yeah, that was a lovely walk. Once I had acquired a water bottle from the museum cafe, because I had not brought my own water bottle. Sitting, as it usually does when I'm not out and about, on the floor next to my desk in my room.
Now, you realised that you had no water whilst you were at the railway roundabout, is that correct?
Yes.
So you were heading...
I was heading Queen's Domain sort of way.
Oh, okay. And so you about faced.
Yeah.
And grabbed some water.
Yep.
I will not point out that, in fact, from that point, Woolworths was closer. I will not point that out. And cheaper. Oh, well. But I'm sure, having bought it from the museum, it would have had finely ground dinosaur bone in it for an increase in calcium.
And then I refilled it at the Botanical Gardens, which I hightailed through up to the usually fairly unused northern entrance, which backs directly onto... Which of the Domain roads? It's either the lower or the upper Domain road.
Are you talking the one with the very large gates?
No, I'm talking the one with a very small gate.
Oh, at the very, very top of the fake stream that feeds into the duck pond. No?
No.
No. All right.
No.
Anyway, you escaped the carnivorous plants.
I did escape. And then up onto the main part of the Queen's Domain, where I found the Max's... It's hard to say. It's spelt MAXS with no punctuation.
Oh, okay.
Infinity Loop. Which is just a 2-kilometre long track with asphalt on one side and...
You went onto that because once you get onto that, you can't get off.
No. Well...
You're trapped.
No, not
forever.
For another... No, you can get off it. In fact, you can get off it before you've completed the 2 kilometres.
It's an infinity loop, Thomas.
Because there's
You're trapped.
A bunch of tracks also leading off of it. Some of which would take you to the summit of the Queen's Domain, but none of which I took. So I eventually ended up in the sort of sports complex that's up that way with an oval and a flatter bit that's not quite an oval. And also the Domain Athletic Centre, which I think was at the time hosting various Catholic schools in some sort of athletics day.
Yeah.
But one of the ovals happened to have a water refilling station for the third fill of this particular bottle, which did last me all the way back to the city centre.
Uh-huh. Well, that's quite a walk.
Yeah, it's a fair walk.
Does your phone count your steps? Did you use that at all?
Yes, I do have the Google Fit app installed. The accuracy maybe leaves something to be desired.
Yeah.
I looked at the GPS track afterwards and it's like, I can see that in some places it has not quite got the picture.
You suddenly zoomed off to North Hobart and then back again.
Oh, no.
That being said...
All the points on the map were points that I went to.
Okay.
Just the bits in between were perhaps...
Right. But the step counter on that actually uses the accelerometer.
I would assume
in your phone, so the steps are usually fairly accurate.
But no, I definitely did not cut directly across as the crow flies the Queen's Domain.
Yeah.
And I didn't go anywhere near the Queen's Walk.
Right.
which is in Cornelian Bay, and
And
therefore
you can't drive through it.
and therefore wouldn't have been an issue.
Well, that was an adventure.
Yeah,
Cool.
it was.
Cool.
You?
You? Me? Me. Well, after our meeting, I went and wandered to take some photos. I had been looking at Google Satellite View, and there was a couple of buildings that I thought, if I go up to the top of that car park, I should get some reasonable views of a building that I couldn't quite get my head around what it actually was. It's sort of in a big mass of other buildings that you can't see from street level. So got it up into one of the car parks and took some photos of that and some other things. That was good. And then wandered down to the waterfront. I needed to collect a breathing apparatus that was being serviced that basically keeps me breathing at night, and that was all ready for when I was meant to collect it. So I grabbed that and then caught the bus home. And I went to the pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to see there's this new film directed by the same person who directed Parasite
Mm.
and Snowpiercer.
Yeah.
Called Mickey 17. It's based on a book
Yeah.
called Mickey 7.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The theatre was basically empty apart from 3 other people, none of which I knew, so yeah, that was good.
And I'm pretty sure there were supposed to be a couple more people in there who just didn't turn up.
Because you looked at the...
yeah, I looked at the seating arrangements.
Seating arrangements.
And it was
Huh. Mind you, I think they do cancel out seats that have faults with them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the whole selecting a seat when you actually get to the seat. Anyway.
Well, usually when you're going to the cinema, you're going with multiple people, and you want to make sure that you can all actually,
I guess,
end up in the same place.
Yeah, that's what normal people do.
Yeah.
Non-normals wait until it's a time when no one else is going to be watching the film. Except for 3 other randoms.
Like 1 p.m. on a school day.
On a school day. Mm.
The day after the film premieres.
Yeah. Anyway.
And I think they've changed the seats in there recently.
They have.
Didn't like it.
No, they're somewhat uncomfortable.
Overly squishy in the wrong places.
Yeah, and the angle was not quite right.
No.
Either. And the thing that I struggle with every single time is the whole knee space. Yeah, I seem to have fairly long legs.
I'm too tall. I cannot sit in a bus seat without taking up both seats because I have to angle myself in order to fit in.
As I've said before, it's a struggle and a battle from the womb to the tomb.
Yeah.
Speaking of struggling,
yeah,
if we don't get into this film, I'll be struggling to edit this. We are watching a film today.
We sure are.
That has absolutely nothing to do with politics or anything like that. What are we watching this week?
We are watching Starship Troopers.
Who selected that?
You selected that.
Oh, I could get into a bit of trouble because if I remember correctly, there's a little bit of female nudity in it.
Oh no.
I know, so...
However will I, a grown adult, deal with this?
I shall call out as we're getting to those scenes with, avert your eyes. Please tell our dear listener what Starship Troopers is all about.
Classic militaristic science fiction book with giant alien bugs and soldiers in power armour turned into anti-fascist and extremely gory satirical movie. Says the laconic page on TV Tropes.
Spoilers? Well, right, so that's what we're in for. We're going to watch it on Disney Plus, of all places, I believe.
Yep, co-production between TriStar and Touchstone, so...
It's not the usual Disney fare, but Thomas is going to crank up the set-top box. I'm going to turn the TV on. We might put some sound on as well so we can hear the thing, and then we'll watch it, and we'll come back and talk about it. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
turn to side B, where you can do your part.
You're not supposed to know it. You haven't seen this film. You don't know about that, you mongrel. So what did you think?
It's okay. It's not especially subtle.
No.
I can tell Verhoeven really dislikes Heinlein.
I should point out that I have not read the book that this is.
Neither have I.
And I put in quotes based on, but yes, it, from all that I've read, is very much a dark satire of the book.
Yeah.
And the heavy-handedness of the book in one direction is counterpointed in the movie by the heavy-handedness of Verhoeven in the dark satire direction. So
it's all very visually impressive, and the trouble is that I don't need to be told that war is stupid and we should stop doing it, because I already know that.
Yes, but I think that, again, as far as making statements at a time politically that maybe something needs to be said, I think he was doing his own little bit as far as that was concerned, and has a history of doing that.
I have not seen a lot of Verhoeven, but I am led to believe he is not a particularly subtle man.
No, very not subtle. And I think that is one of the things, as far as this movie was concerned, is that certain countries in particular just didn't get it. Mm-hmm. And even though it's as subtle as a brick, they didn't get it, and were reading other things into it, and no, this isn't what...
Pretty sure large swathes of the US read exactly the opposite message that was intended.
Yeah. As far as what you just mentioned also, as far as the look of it, there are certain effects shots that have not aged at all. Mm-hmm. They are incredibly convincing and really make some more recent productions look terribly inadequate in comparison. That being said, there are also other shots that really have not aged well, but some of the space shots, even though a lot of it didn't make sense, and Daniel did point out, why are they all so close together? That's just asking for trouble. But some of the ships being split in half, and if you were to pause and zoom into scenes, you would see different decks of these ships that have been blown apart, and flames coming out of it. Just incredible. And some of the effects shots of them fighting the bugs, eye lines, I was totally convinced they were fighting these things. Whereas there have been far more recent productions where similar things have been going on, where I'm just not convinced that they are A, in the same room together, and B, that one or more of them does or doesn't exist. Does that any of that make sense?
Yeah. We've reached the point in visual effects that we can pretty regularly make things that look real. Where do you go from there?
The feeling that I've got is that we've gone backwards in some respects. There were things in this that had weight and were entirely convincing, and there are other films that I've seen far more recently where that weight hasn't been felt, and that solidness, it's not real. This very much felt real in a lot of places. But yeah, it is a clunky, cheesy, the script is just through gritted teeth type of cheesiness, and it's awkward in a lot of places. In
theory, this is a world that has been pretty thoroughly integrated with each other. Everyone's wherever. It's just America. It's just we're just talking about the US.
I was trying to avoid politics in this. Oh dear. Oh, the other shot that I was just absolutely blown away, quite literally, was the bombing run across that desert section.
Mm-hmm.
So many different levels and layers, things happening far off that are convincing and things that are happening right in your face that are convincing. Just, wow. Would you like to know more? No.
Well, people did make 4 more films.
Yeah, and I don't know whether I've seen any of the other ones.
No. No, I'm led to believe not really worth it.
No. It's a case of diminished returns all the way through.
Yeah, it's just okay.
It is just okay, apart from those few bits where... and it has been years. I think I've only watched it once, and that was in the cinema when it first came out. And that was before you were born.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I remembered just being awed for some of those shots. And leading up to this week's recording, I'm thinking, gee, I wonder how that has held up. You know, so many different big science fiction blockbusters have come out since. How are those shots going to hold up that I remember being wowed with? And for the most part, I was really, really surprised at how well that had held up. But also my memory was the cheesiness, and none of that has improved.
No.
And you cannot mistake that this is dark satire. And yet there are also some scenes which are really clunky that you think, is this deliberate or not? You know, the whole relationships thing is just so one-dimensional. So many of the characters are just one-dimensional, and you think, is this deliberate? And it's really hard to delve into without reading the book. All you see in huge swathes of comments on the internet is that, oh, they didn't have this shield. Apparently the soldiers had a force shield or something.
Oh, power armor.
Power armor, there we go.
Remember, power armor was mentioned in that TV Tropes one-sentence summary. Doesn't show up in the film because apparently made the soldiers too overpowered. Wasn't believable that they could be defeated so easily.
Right. Well, there we go. That was Starship Troopers. Do you have anything else you wish to say about Starship Troopers?
No. The trouble with the TV Tropes laconic summary is that it's trying to summarise both the book and the film, because they both have the same title.
Yeah.
And so they're both inextricably linked.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, we might move on then.
Yes, let's. The following segment has no title. Thank you. And we will start over on Spotify with Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Who says, thanks for mentioning me. Also, my name is just in a different font. I was so happy when I heard my name. You guys are my favourite podcasters.
Oh, Caitlin, you should not have mentioned fonts.
No.
Thomas has just gone off on a crazy tangent.
First of all, thank you. Thank you for the compliment. I do need to pull you up on this. Your name is not in a different font. It's in the same font as everything else on Spotify. It just happens to be made up of Cyrillic letters and Greek letters and mathematical L's and a couple of black stars, which...
Black stars.
They're just black stars. As far as I can...
there is a Cyrillic small letter in Ukrainian.
Yes. Yes, just for extra spice.
Oh, Caitlin, what have you done?
What you've done is produced an accessibility nightmare. Because it doesn't read as anything.
Caitlin, you've set him off now.
Yeah.
It really freaks him out when people use different type fonts because the screen readers have a hard time actually reading it. Thomas is not visually impaired, but as far as screen readers for the visually impaired,
I have had to consider such things in the past.
I quite habitually use strike-throughs in comments and things like that. And I know that's a bad thing to do.
Even if you're using an actual strike-through element, the readability isn't great.
No. Caitlin, I would say ignore him. Anyway.
Also, from Caitlin, that was on The Fast and Furious.
Yep.
A couple of weeks ago. Meanwhile, on Argo, also Caitlin makes a film suggestion of Hamilton the Musical.
Ah.
I'm sensing a theme here.
A bit of a musical theme happening. When Thomas let me know, we were actually in the same room. So we were in the room where it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. The room where it happened. The room where... Have you seen Hamilton?
I have seen Hamilton the Musical.
How many times have you seen Hamilton the Musical?
Well, probably twice.
Yeah.
And maybe an extra time listening to the soundtrack.
I reckon we might have a couple of sit-ins when we get around to considering tackling Hamilton, because it's somewhat of a favourite amongst certain people in the household. So we shall add it to the list of suggestions. Thank you for that.
Meanwhile, over on Discord, Eve Pie...
Hi, Eve Pie.
...says, for next week, or what will be this week by the time you read this in the show... A friend of mine is currently giving a talk I'm sitting in the back of about Starship Troopers. The movie version of Starship Troopers, which he thinks is a bit of a bad adaptation, and what they're both about.
It is a can of worms.
Yeah.
That one opens when you have fans of the book confronting the movie, as far as I can tell. So that was probably an interesting or very boring presentation.
Well, you know, when the book is telling you that maximum force is good and you should use maximum force, and the film is telling you, no, that's... what? Why?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently the first draft of the script hewed close to the original.
Mm-hmm.
And then Verhoeven was like, I don't want to tell this story.
No, there's not enough RoboCop in it.
We're going to tell the exact opposite story.
Let's do that.
But also the same story?
Yeah. We'll tell it from the bug's point of view. Which they did to a certain extent, really. They hinted at the whole... Anyway. And we don't have any guesses this week?
No, we don't have any guesses for Argo, of Argo, towards Argo.
And so for those listening at home, the file name that I did have for Argo was ARGO. I know, shocker, really.
Yeah. So, despite these arbitrary points being basically free...
Yeah, that's like shooting fish in a barrel, that one was. Yeah.
Nobody went for it.
Nope.
No.
So I'm going to show Thomas, and I do apologise if there's a crackling noise as I do so, because this recording device is beginning to get a little long in the tooth, and I suspect there's a soldering joint that's a little loose. So, but I shall... It's a monster.
It is. I think sort of unavoidably so.
Yeah, Starship Trooper has a lot... Oh, sorry, Starship Troopers has a lot of letters in it.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe that slight fumble there might be a hint. I don't expect it to help you that much.
No.
You know, good luck and all. You know, give it a swing.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll strike it lucky.
Swing and a miss. All right. So if you want to guess the file name, please submit it at your most convenient place of making such comments. The links are in the show notes and mentioned at the end of the podcast.
Or also any other sort of comments.
Yeah.
Film suggestions. Anything, really.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we'll move on.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
And it's your turn.
It is my turn. And it has been 4 weeks.
It has been 4 weeks.
So
we're going to start our engines.
we're going to dive back into the world of Speedy Angry People.
Speedy Angry People.
With Too Fast, Too Furious. Because, as will become apparent over the course of this journey, they just can't hold down a title format.
Is it a journey or is it a road trip? Who is to say? It is not me.
What it is a former policeman and his friend working with a US customs agent to indict a money launderer in Miami.
That's what we're watching next week.
Yeah.
Too Fast, Too Furious. We hope that you can join us, but until then, we'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us, in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Are they gone? Are they gone? Oh, thank goodness.
I might have a pre-recorded recap segment for next week.
Previously on The Fast and the Furious, the road trip.
Yeah, that'll be something.
That will be something.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm stopping.
Yeah, good call.